Hi everyone. Come on, join our net question paper analysis. This is the most awaited moment. Hey, one thing very important, do not make all judgments right now and calculate wrongly and get depressed or anything. You might not even remember correctly what you have written. So remember, by all possibility, you have done well. And also, we don't know exact questions. We are just looking at the areas from which questions came. This question paper analysis is particularly useful for everyone who has not written the exam. Today, we have with us our Jobin David, who has been
Hello,
teaching you paper one. Jobin?
hello, ma'am. Hi.
Ah, Jobin is having a cold. No problem. It's not going to spread from YouTube. Just a cold. And
Yeah.
we have another person, Siddharth Madhav. Siddharth was a previous student. He passed NET and he's trying for JRF. And you know what? He's one of the many previous students working at Valath. You know that Valath has a big team that is made up of many of our previous students. And we are focusing a lot on careers and career grooming now. You know, we are starting a new center at Ernakulam where we are completely focused on careers. I'll tell you about that later. You are not here to listen to me blah, blah, blah about my career dreams. Let me invite Jobin to share his PPT and talk to us about paper one first.
Yes, ma'am.
Jobin?
Yes, ma'am. So, different from the net exams that were happened in the June, and August 2024, I was very happy that the students were telling, like our offline, online, both students were telling that paper one was easy for them, especially maths and DI when they saw the questions of data interpretation and maths. Data interpretation was simple, but I'll tell you, students, it is not simple or like it was easy. Like you practiced a lot, you practiced so many questions, so many harder level questions you practiced, and then it made these questions simple for you. So we'll have a paper one analysis with the 10 units that we have in paper one, starting with teaching aptitude and all. So what I got from our students, those who wrote the exam, I have compiled some of the topics that have come for the exam. So we'll begin with teaching aptitude. I think the exams went well, those who wrote the exam. Teaching aptitude unit one, when we have teaching methods, question was there with the lecture method and online learning. There was when we conducted the YouTube revisions, marathon revisions, and online revisions, also in the offline online classes, we have told that there will be a sure there will be question from SWAYAM and online learning. It was very short part SWAYAM. So every time they'll ask question. Classroom environment. There was a question regarding the classroom environment and a different approach I understood was psychological needs. Like they forgot, like they stopped asking questions regarding the psychology part or learning theories part long back. But again, they have restarted asking. They have started asking again the psychological needs of the students, or like I heard the question like that, psychological needs of students and learners, like that sort of question was asked. So that is from the teaching aptitude part. Now, going to the research aptitude part. Research aptitude, whenever I did the YouTube revision, our YouTube babies will remember this. I told you that sampling was an important question, sampling, and also citation. So there were questions from sampling, types of sampling. There was match the following question regarding the types of sampling. And citation, from citation, I think there were two questions regarding the citation part. And also types of research was there. I think one of our students remembered that they asked the question like, what is the other name of deliberate sampling? Okay, the other name of deliberate sampling. The other name of deliberate sampling is purposive sampling. Okay, so the questions were asked regarding sampling. So it is can note that the very important or the short topic in the research aptitude is sampling, and every year they are continuously they are asking questions on types of sampling. Okay, so that is from the part of research aptitude that we have. Communication, we have like I got less questions from the communication part. Full form of site was asked, and then types of communication was asked. I think that was the questions that they meant. Cite a satellite instructional television experiment. That is the full form of SITE. And the types of communication was asked in communication part. Now, theories of communication, or any other like sort of other types of communication, verbal and non-verbal was asked. I think intrapersonal, all those was asked, but theories of communication was not asked this time. And going to mathematical reasoning, this time I was very happy that these all upstream, downstream, number series, letter series, average, all those was done in our like as well as in our classes, offline, online, and everywhere, and also in the marathon revision, and also in the YouTube live revisions. Upstream and downstream question, I told you, like I still remember the questions that we have done. Find the speed of the stream. So like students were remembering that. So questions were there from that mathematical reasoning part. And also in the letter series, there was a question. Number series also there was a question. I think it was to find out the 10th term or what, mathematical reasoning. And average age also was there with the question. And coming to logical reasoning, Indian logic, there was a question related to Nyaya, like the schools of logic. Indian logic was asked, Nyaya was asked, there was a question. Western logic, there was fallacies. Obviously, fallacies was there. And the type of argument, valid or invalid, sound or unsound, that sort of question was also asked in the logical reasoning part. Data interpretation, this time it was very easy, but we cannot say that it is very easy as you have practiced it, because the question asked was average, percentage, and ratio out of the table given. The table was the marks of 4 students. Marks of students of 4 subjects out of 100. And then you were asked to find average, percentage, and ratio. So if the concept of average, percentage, and ratio, if it is clear with you, you can easily solve the data interpretation. So many students, they told us that data interpretation was pretty easy. That they were able to do, and they developed a confidence in trying data interpretation. They at least they got 2 or 3 questions like in the options, like correct options, and then they were able to boost up their confidence to do other paper one questions also. So that is very important. So DI, it is not actually, I consider it is not actually, it was easy, but you practiced a lot, because we practiced double table. We practiced double table in the marathon revision. We practiced the missing table interpretation. That means like there were no data, and we found out that. So harder problems, when we will feel that it feels that it is very simple. Okay, so that's from data interpretation. ICT, again, full form of site HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol, secure. WiMAX also asked worldwide interoperability for microwave access. It is WiMAX. Okay. So all these questions were asked in ICT. I didn't get like conversion question. Didn't ask this time. They didn't ask conversion questions, I think. Then higher education, sorry. Ancient education and universities was asked. There was a mass of following question. Then values in education, there was, I think, which value you will use in which sort of education. That was a question I like one of the students told me. And this important part, I told you, educational bodies, whenever we discuss higher education with the with regarding the YouTube lives, every time I will tell you that YouTube babies, you should learn functions of educational bodies like NAC, UGC, NIRF. It was asked in higher education part. And then last, about the people development, there was a question regarding the current affairs, not with the current affairs, I think. I think they asked sustainable city, which is the most sustainable city, or like something they asked. And with the protocol, they asked Paris Agreement. Like what is the temperature difference that the nations should keep according to Paris Agreement, they asked, I think, with the protocols part. Yeah. And comprehension, it was about the passage on handicrafts in India. It was about a passage on handicrafts, and that was a simple passage too. So I think it is a like analysis of paper one that I have. Basically, like they have given an easy paper this time. With paper one, they have given an easy paper. But it is, I think that is not an easy paper actually. Like when you solve the DI, like the first question obviously will be DI. So DI and then maths, these all were easy, and that developed the confidence of students to do other questions. That means they have developed a confidence in paper one. That's what. So I think these YouTube live revisions, our marathon revisions, and our classes, offline, online classes have what it has been a a very effective part of developing this confidence. And also, like you put the effort. Our students have put many, like a lot of effort in doing this maths and data interpretation and all. Okay, that was it. That was a paper one analysis of Jan exam 2025 exam of NET paper one. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Jobin. So I'm
Yes.
so happy after the exam. Students were telling me about paper one from our paid courses. Ma'am, all the strategies and everything that Jobin sir, Aparna ma'am, Grishma ma'am, Manu sir, all the paper one team members, they have done a really good job. Their support went a long way. Dear friends, not only for English literature students, we have a paper one dedicated course also. Everybody is super happy with the exam. I'm so happy that we could do this with you. Now, before I go on to paper two, let me quickly mention, the little confusion created by a draft come related to net. I don't think there is any reason to worry. One thing, there's only a draft. We should wait for what they have to say in the later, documents that will be released. Secondly, it is mostly about the sciences. It's an opportunity. It is nothing to be worried about. That does not mean if you have net, you will not get a job or anything. Don't overinterpret like that. That is not what it means. So don't worry about it. We'll come back with more details of all that later when the government releases more details. All right. So now we are moving on to paper two. Here with me, Siddharth is there. Siddharth, you have written paper one and paper two exam this time. I hope you'll get JRF. Please tell us how was paper one for you?
No, as everyone says, the paper was actually slightly simple, or at least it looked simple for everyone. But personally, I don't think it was that simple. The questions had a general standard. Like if we compare it with the last exam, it almost reaches the same standard as that. But the thing is that the names mentioned and the books mentioned in the paper were more familiar with the students, especially the ones who have attended the coaching classes and all. They will catch these things easily. And thus, a common image about the paper has been developed that it was
Yeah.
easy. But I don't think that it was that easy. Like the one which was conducted in OMR sheet, it was not that basic.
Hmm.
And
Paper one?
in paper one, also like Jobin sir said, for the past few years, like past few terms, they were giving really hard and complex DI questions. But this time they gave a very simple, basic question, which, like, of course, developed the students' confidence to attend the rest of the paper.
Good. So let us see how paper two was. What are the questions from paper two? I'm moving on to the slides. From British literature, as usual, there were a lot of questions. We have literary movements. You know that questions from literary movements, such as Bloomsbury Group, is there in NET, in GATE. GATE exam is coming up. So people who are writing GATE also, please note all this. These are very important areas for all exams, even CUET, PG, and other exams also. So chronology, people were telling me there were lots of chronology questions. Many were match the following also, I understand. Chronology from Romantic period, from the works of W.B. Yeats. Remember, major authors we should always look up. Lines from the Wasteland and Prayer for My Daughter, revenge tragedies of the Jacobean period, chronology of the works of D.H. Lawrence. So W.B.H., D.H. Lawrence. There is no surprise here. They're all very important canonical writers. And match the following of Edmund Spenser's works, Philip Sidney, quotation from Pope, Alexander Pope, about the novels of George Eliot, the last novel, and also some familiar magazines and journals, Spectator, Quarterly Review, Fraser's Magazine, etc. So these are all expected things. Luckily for all of us, in our revision classes, we covered many of these areas. those who took our revision, and I gave a final short authors and a plan to study for the last 8 days. Those who took all this seriously were telling me that it really helped. So how was British literature for you, Siddharth?
Ma'am, like British literature, it was like pretty basic. And even the chronologies, they didn't make it too complex by asking the books from different writers. Mostly
Mm-hmm.
they were to like align chronologically the works of a single writer like D.H. Lawrence, W.B.H.
Mm-hmm.
and all.
All right. So that was, the challenge is not actually British literature. Those who study British literature usually find the questions a lot simple than the other areas. You are expected to know contemporary developments in literature. You are expected to know literature of marginal writers, the post-colonial writers, the disability writers, LGBTQ. But we should also understand one thing: in every exam, all these areas will not be touched upon. For example, many people who studied LGBTQ or something were disappointed because they did not ask. But whatever is absent in this exam, you can expect in the next exam. That is a very important insight that you should have. So, from William Shakespeare alone, chronology of Shakespeare's works, genres of Shakespeare's plays, identify the genre of Much Ado About Nothing, years of publication. I think they asked Cymbeline also. Quotes from Shakespeare's plays were their years of publication, etc. As Siddharth was saying, these are also pretty basic compared to other areas. Then we have questions on Holy Sonnets, Letter to Chesterfield. I was teaching this in the class, I remember. Chronology of Francis Bacon, chronology of 17th century prose works. They asked Thomas Hobbes's Leviathan, then Robert Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy. There was a question on Oliver Goldsmith, the poem Elegy on the Death of a Mad Dog. You know what? Many of our students from the paid course were saying, ma'am, for British literature especially, it was like an open book exam for us because everything they asked from the encyclopedia. Dear friends, all of you would know about our encyclopedia. It is a collection of all the important details from syllabi based on secondary reading and text prescribed in syllabi. We are also meticulously following exam papers to collect information for the encyclopedia. For those who do not want to buy the main encyclopedias, do not want to spend a lot of money, there are the student encyclopedias, which we are actually taking to all levels, from school level to postgraduate level. Everybody can use it to get an idea of literature, and they are absolutely amazing. You should have copies of it. Works of Mary Shelley, which of the following is not a work by Mary Shelley? I think poems written in terza rima, characteristics of modernism. None of these is actually a surprise. These are all expected areas. Then we come to Indian and Dalit literature. Did you find it challenging, Siddharth?
No, like for me, Indian literature is my favorite area, and I'm actually curious to see the Ernakulam batch students after the paper, because there was a question about VK Gogak, and we had a
Uh-huh.
clue. We had a way to study VK Gogak's work.
Yes,
There were two questions that had marks of conquest,
yes,
and there was one question which like who wrote Chandalika, Rabindranath
uh-huh.
Tagore, and we had a clue for that as well, a
Yes,
story to learn the works of Rabindranath Tagore in chronological
yes.
order. And there was also two questions about Judan. We had a clue to study that as well. So almost 14 marks the Ernakulam students are going to get through the quotes we made. And I'm pretty curious and I'm pretty waiting to see them.
Absolutely amazing. I'm sure they remembered because Siddharth did a code, exam practice session based on codes for them. And as you know, Vallat is famous for codes and songs and stories that we make. Our revision sessions were full of them. And that is why most of our students said the exam was like a cakewalk for them, thanks to God. So we had questions from Match the Following female writers. It was Kamala Markandeya, Anita Desai, Urmila Pawar, features of the works of A.K. Ramanujan, works of Toru Dutt and Sarojini Naidu, Sri Aurobindo, nothing outside our encyclopedia. Everything that is given here is there in our encyclopedia. Year of publication of Kantapura, English studies in India. We should not trust people who wear masks. Vishwas mat karo, jo mask pehenta hai. That is our code. And colonial transactions were pretty harsh. So Harsh Trivedi wrote colonial transaction, all those codes we have. There are hundreds of codes actually. We can't tell everything in a YouTube live. It took us months to study the codes, but it really paid off. Chronology of the works of Mulk Raj Anand and R.K. Narayan, and who wrote Jejuri, Chandalika, who translated the works of Mashweta Devi into English. Everything we had covered. Macaulay's Minute and Om Prakash Valmiki's Jhutan. These are all classics and very major works. Thankfully, Net did not play with our knowledge and memory this time. So it was very good for all of us, I'm sure. Those who made mistakes inadvertently without wanting to, please don't cry over spilt milk. Don't worry now. Don't blame yourself. It is not your fault. Everybody, including me, forgets things when we are not in a very peaceful environment like the exam hall. We might get stressed. These are all normal things. We don't want guilt and inferiority complex or anything working out. It is normal to make mistakes. That is very important to remember, because if you feel guilty, that defeats the whole purpose of education. Education is to empower you. That is the very principle upon which Vallath is built. So our students were singing their way to the exam and coming back dancing. I'm so happy that I'm blessed actually to, be able to teach like this. Then we come to American literature. Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer, John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, characteristics of Gothic novel, Langston Hughes's I Too Sing America. These are all very basic in American literature. All of these authors we should know really, really well. So I hope people did this also very well. And then we come to post-colonial literature. Chronology questions were there on post-colonial critical works, Orientalism, Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Mass, then Aboriginal or Australian writers. There were so many questions in previous net also on Aboriginal Australian writers. In our net batches, we studied Udguru, Nunukalka, Walker, Udguru, Nunukalka, Walker. This is almost like Tess anthem or something now. Everybody at Vallath knows all this. And we also studied Mudruru, Colin Johnson, Mudruru, Colin Johnson. Memorizing is not the only thing we do at tests. We go into text deeply also. But when net exam is so full of questions that require your memory and not deeper insight, what can we do? We need to make codes and memorize also. Otherwise, the pressure is just defeating the students. It is killing us. So memorizing is wrong, but sometimes to defeat the pressure of these exams, to counter the negative effects of this kind of an educational system, we need to memorize also. Memorizing is the first step. We realize that memorizing leads us to understand better in the next step, right? So that is how we should study. Post-colonial literature questions include a Negritude, Amy Sasser, apartheid novels, Michael Ondaatje, etc. also. And then literary theory, criticism, and cultural studies. Siddharth, what is your take on this area and post-colonialism?
I think post-colonial questions were actually slightly hard. Like there was chronology to arrange the post-colonial theoretical works, and there was also a question to arrange the post-colonial, like colonial theories, like how on the years they came out.
Right.
I think those were slightly hard. Regarding the Aboriginal writers, it was the same question that appeared at the last net, and the options were also same. Regarding the theory part, it was slightly it would have been slightly confusing for the students. The questions which were based on the concepts were not much upon the basics. Like when we take Adorno's concept or Boldier's concept. It was not as as easy as giving the keywords in the sentences. They were slightly deep, but not that deep. They could easily crack it if they have given it some time to read, but it was not as easy as British or American.
Yeah. All right. So this was the tricky area. Statements from theoretical texts were asked. Schools of criticism and members of schools were asked. Obviously, it is the easy questions that people already know that they remember. All the difficult questions may not have come here in this list. I'm aware of that. Theoretical terms such as read early, write early text, theoretical concepts such as public sphere and habitus. But as Siddharth is saying, what students remembered is the easy part. So I'm sure it was more challenging than this. Michel Foucault, Sigmund Freud, blue humanities. Now, contemporary research areas is a very important area. There are lectures and courses that we have conducted on it. Everybody who's preparing for NET should give a lot of importance to research areas where people are doing research these days, like digital humanities, blue humanities, precarity, liquid humanity, modernity, and things like that. And then echo criticism was there. Features of practical criticism were asked. This is what we understand. From research methods, also some questions were there. MLA 9th edition features research methods, steps involved in decision making in research. I'm sure these are also not very easy for everyone. People who with research experience might have found it easy, but not everyone. So you should start preparing now itself. Even if you had the exam easy, you should still prepare until the result comes. Until the result comes that you have passed with JRF, don't give up. Don't take a break also, because whatever you have studied, you should not forget. Right. So you should continue to study, because this is all about not just passing an exam. This is about honing your skills and perfecting your knowledge. You are embarking on a glorious career. So don't think it's all about passing one exam. It is about learning better, so that you will do better. Linguistics questions were also there, but very few. Lang and parole is what students remembered. Some other areas were literary terms and techniques. People remembered apostrophe questions on litort, epigraph, epigram, apocrypha, antiphrasis, stream of consciousness, such terms. Well, one question, at least one Latin American author, Pablo Neruda, was there, and also autobiographies. Now, Siddharth has made a rough graph. It may not be very accurate, but this will help us to understand where the focus lies. Siddharth, would you like to explain this graph, please?
Yeah, so as ma'am said, it's an approximate graph, but mostly like it's about 60% or 50% British literature questions were there in the exam. And you can see, compared to the other topics, British literature holds a huge margin in the graph. American was also pretty much present all throughout the
But
exam.
not always. Some exams have very few American literature questions.
Yeah, but sometimes it gets replaced by European, and this
Yeah.
time the European lies 0. And sometimes they ask, like last time and the before last time, the Indian aesthetics was a major portion, was one of their favorite portions, and this time all those Sanskrit terms were absent from the paper.
But that'll help you in the next exam if you're
Yeah.
writing the next exam.
And regarding the other areas, it's some questions were there, like to arrange the chronologically the very contemporary works, like something sometimes from some works after 2010s, and there was also questions about autobiography. Those were the questions I think that might have confused the students. Like one student told me the autobiography question was so easy because one option was Patrick White alive, and it would always be it looked like an autobiography, but actually that was a biography. So people might get confused. They might think that's an easy question because the other names were familiar. The other options was Gandhi's autobiography, Mandela's autobiography, and Karuk. So I think so that were the areas I think was complex. And
Yeah.
theory questions were also pretty much high, but it was not, I think it was not as high as the previous years. Post-colonial actually maintained its status by being a presence, and research methods were also asked slightly more than the last years. There were 2 questions about the ML edition, and there was one or two questions about the the development of research ideas. And the MLA questions were also pretty tough because it was not the technical terms or technical definitions that were asked. They gave they picturized the bibliography, how we cite the works, and it was pretty hard to pick out the wrong citations. And like coming to linguistics, I was pretty shocked because there was only one question from linguistics, and that too was langue and parole question, which is an always asked question. And there was no other. Maybe they have another linguistic net paper, and people might be wanting them to write it. I don't know why.
It all depends on the question paper setters. There is no predictability because they will give a lot of question paper setters questions to make, and they will pick out only some of these questions that are made. That is why there is an imbalance, because every time when you randomly pick out questions from all the questions that have been made, you may not get the right combination. It is not deliberate that there were no questions from Indian aesthetics or European. Maybe they were made, but when the question paper was randomly set from those questions may not have come by permutation combination. So that's why you can't predict that, okay, they are not going to ask Indian aesthetic questions from now on. It doesn't mean that.
Yeah, we
Right.
actually missed Indian literature in the graph. So I will just add it. And it was it actually, Indian literature was actually pretty much a good presence. It had a better presence than American literature.
Okay.
And regarding the criticism and theory part, last time criticism parts were asked more. The quotes from criticism parts were asked. But this time only 1 or 2 questions were asked like that. And the cultural studies part was more.
Oh, I see. Siddharth, I'm getting an idea. People will really benefit from this graph. Can you correct it and work on it, and then let us post it in the social media so that they can take a look at it and they can use it to prepare?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yes.
We will post it tomorrow.
All right. So, dear friends, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. If in case you have not done well, don't be disheartened. It is not any abnormal thing or unusual thing. Sometimes exams like this are tough. The very next time you may pass with JRF. And don't be worried about whether net is useless or anything. As of now, until the FY UGP students are out, obviously net is the criterion, and we have to pass this exam to prove our mettle and enrich our CV. You should also work seriously on PhD topics and areas, read deeply, and be ready for a lot of changes in the education system in the future. And these changes are not only challenges, they are also great opportunities. Those who know the subject well, those who can use the language well, those who can those who have the necessary academic skills will go a long way in excelling in their careers. This is the time to work towards it. In case you need us, we are with you. I forgot to tell you something. We have a pleasant surprise for you, which is a literary gathering that we are planning at Ernakulam. If anybody is here from Kerala or Ernakulam, please feel free to join us, because this is going to be a literary gathering. There is going to be a conclave on diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And also, you can spend the whole day with us playing games. You can have fun. You can take away gifts. This is going to be on the 14th of January, on Tuesday, from 11 a.m. till evening. And it'll be a whole day full of great fun and learning and collaboration and celebration. Do join us. We will give you the details on the social media and in WhatsApp groups, wherever you are. And I hope to meet you, because this is going to be an amazing day. All right. So Siddharth, let us hope a lot of people will join us. This Vellath Center at Ernakulam is going to give special emphasis on preparing people, students for careers. Of course, it is a net coaching program. We call it the Platinum net coaching program, because you will get very structured grooming sessions and guidance on careers here, along with Trivandrum, of course. In Trivandrum, this has already been happening for many years. It will be more structured in Ernakulam with even more focus on mentoring. That is why we will call it the Platinum batch, and Trivandrum will be the Gold batch. We can see Platinum and Gold here in the invitation also. And do join us on the 14th. It's an invitation to whoever wants to come. We will, you please do get in touch with us if you're coming, and we will have a great time together, right? So many more years of learning, because NET exam is not just one way to learn. We are in for a lifetime of learning and collaboration and amazing things that we can do together. Bye-bye from Jobin, Siddharth, and me from all Team Vellath. It is not just me and Jobin who have done this. It is an entire team of faculty members and academics and non-academic members in the team. We are full-time 24/7 working hard to make education easy and possible for everybody who loves English literature in many different ways. Thank you from all of us for your support, and we are all there for you in every way to help you in your careers in English literature and the humanities. Thank you and good night. Bye-bye.